I've been a doctor for 30 years. I graduated medical school at the age of 22. I started at age 16. I graduated at 22, but that's normal for Nigeria though. That's not, well, kind of normal. I started at 16 and I finished at 23. And I've been practicing since then. I lived in England first for 5 years. Then I moved to the States. I've lived in the States since 98.
What's the difference between England and the States?
What's the what?
What's the fundamental difference? What would you say is the cultural difference?
Okay, let me summarize that because that's a whole topic for 1 hour. Because I'm also biased because, you know, my husband's English, but let me summarize it for you. I love the family culture of England. I love the family value and, you know, the society and the cultural aspects, the moral and the family values there. But if you do want to make the big bucks and you are, you know, you're very ambitious, you want to make the big bucks, you come to America. But when it comes to the lifestyle and the family and the cultural setting, it's not quite there. Yeah. So that's the conclusion. But I'm a pediatrician by trade. But what do I do now? I still practice pediatrics. I own my own practice. I've owned my practice for 20 years. So I'm very, very, very skilled in business strategy. So I wake up with business in my veins. I go to bed with business in my veins. So I started off really as a business coach on Instagram, but after I got remarried in 2020, after my 10-year divorce, women started bombarding my DM, asking me relationship questions. So I'm like, you know what? I can also help women in relationship coaching. So I'm a pediatrician. I'm a business and financial coach. I'm a relationship, marriage, and dating coach. And I'm also a wellness and weight loss coach. So I'm a holistic coach.
Boy,
I can help you basically with everything.
That's a lot of stuff. That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, that shows that you've got a lot. Like I said, it just feels like you've got a lot to give.
I do.
You've got a lot to give.
And I thank God for that.
Now, we have a very important conversation to have. Now, my first request to everyone on this call is you need to share this with someone. There's someone that needs this session. Some people are a session away, right, from having their lives transformed. Just a session. I'm telling you, this kind of session could just change someone's perspective. It looks like you're freezing. Are you back? Okay.
Was I the one freezing or was it you?
Oh, you froze. I froze.
You froze.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. But let's ask the audience though. Audience, can you see both of us clearly?
Can you see us clearly though? Guys, let us know. Can you see us clearly? Can you hear us?
There's usually a delay before they respond because I could see myself, but I couldn't see you anymore. You froze.
Okay, somebody says yes, so we can just get on.
Okay.
All right, we're talking about how to maintain a healthy financial and emotional well-being as a divorcee. And I like the fact that Dr. Iyabo has told us that, listen, this topic is all-encompassing. It doesn't limit to a certain demography. I'm sure everyone wants to have a certain type of, you know, financial well-being. Everybody deserves it, isn't it? So the first thing we want to unpack before we even get into the meat of the matter is how important does the financial aspect of our lives and the emotional aspect of where do they meet? At what point can you talk about the balance? How do they relate? Are they related?
Finances on one hand, emotions on the other hand, they are very related, but we should do our best not to relate them together. I don't want to confuse people. So if you're financially independent, it helps you become more secure. So therefore, your emotional state will be more balanced, because as much as we say money is not that, is not everything, it helps you with a comfortable life. So our financial states and our emotional states are very closely linked, but we have to do our best to separate them. Let me explain, because especially with us women, because we're very emotional, us women. If you keep on putting your emotions into your financial security, your finances will not do well. You have to try to release your emotions when it comes to your money and your finances. I hope I answered that question properly. Yeah.
Got it. So let's talk about the emotional well-being. Particularly for someone that is going through turbulence in their marriage or going through a divorce, how do you stabilize? How do you maintain wellness? How do you achieve wellness? When can you be said to be emotionally well? Going through.
You mean while you're going through the divorce, or do you mean post-divorce?
Well, while you're going through a divorce,
okay.
Or maybe post. Because okay. I'm trying to cut across so that I can understand how these things work. Particularly if you're contemplating a divorce, if you're caught already or you're divorced already. Yeah. Or are they different emotions?
So when you're going through a divorce, like I've been through a divorce before, the most important thing is the phrase I want women to remember and to write in your journal 10 times today, is that health is key. Your health is key. That is the time that your maintenance of your health routines are most important. I know it will be difficult, but over and above everything, before you think of your kids, before you think of anything else, you're going to write in your journal, what are some simple ways I can maintain my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health, and my spiritual health? Those 4 things. Before you think of money and whatever, because if you're not alive, and if you are not healthy, everything else is secondary. So those kids you're worried about, for you to be able to take care of those kids, you have to first divide your health into those 4 things and look for simple ways in which to nourish those 4 parts of your health. When I was going through a divorce, nobody could believe it, because I would show up. In fact, I feel like I was even in better shape than anything, because I was actually, aside from there was a time I had pimples on my face because of the stress, but as per my body, I was still running on the elliptical at home every day. I was still taking walks outside. I didn't let myself go. I was still watching what I ate, because as a doctor, maybe it's just the way I'm wired, I knew that I had to maintain my health in order to be able to be there for my kids.
Wow. I like those 4 things you mentioned. Can you mention them again? The 4 aspects that we should take care of.
Number 1 is your mental health. And I say mental health first, because if you're not in a good mental state, it's very hard for you to take care of your physical health. So your mental health first, your physical health, your spiritual health. And I didn't say you should stay in church for 24 hours. My Nigerian sisters, my African sisters, if you just say one sentence to God, God help me. Jesus, my life is in your hands. Protect me. I need strength. God hears you. You don't have to repeat yourself a million times. You don't have to spend every waking hour in church. You don't have to stay up all night. You don't have to fast every day. God hears your prayer. Before you even say the prayers, he has heard you. So I wanted to say that, because when I say spiritual health, my African sisters are going to feel like, oh yes, God wants you to be happy. He wants you to have a life. You can take a walk and pray to God. God hears you everywhere. Some Sundays, if you don't feel strong enough to go to church, take a walk out in nature. Talk to God while you're taking a walk. So anyway, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and emotional health.
Wow. I'm sure. I see that some of our scribes are taking notes, and it's
That
really.
is my sister from another mother. It's Dr. Adeyemi. And she's
Oh,
listed on this live because Dr. Adeyemi is a therapist. She's a psychiatrist. I'm belittling her. She's a psychiatrist. She's a
I'm
board
gonna.
certified psychiatrist in the UK. So I have many people that come to my DM and they need mental health help. I refer them to Dr. Adeyemi. Talk mental health. Dr. Adeyemi is that psychiatrist, that psychologist, that therapist that women need in order to be able to, revamp their mental health.
I'll check on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we've talked about emotional wellness and emotional well-being. So when you take care of these four components, right, how are you supposed to deal with everyday life? How do you deal with everyday life, everyday people, everyday circumstances without breaking down? Because we found that a lot of people that go through divorces, sometimes they become the shadow of themselves. How do you deal with everyday life? Take everyday steps, baby steps without breaking down.
Okay. One simple tip that I want to give to women, and they'll be surprised by this tip. When you ask me, how do we deal with everyday life? What is life made up of? Life is made up of people, right? If there were no people in this world, then you won't be asking me this question. So life is made up of people. I want to tell women that in order for them to be able to start healing and coping with what's going on during their divorce, they need to zip up their mouth. Okay? Women need to zip up their mouth and stop telling stories to people and asking everybody for advice, because that will run them crazy. Okay? Because not everybody's advice is good. Not everybody has your best intention at heart. You have to be careful. It's not the time that you feel that you want to pick up the phone and start calling people and asking, what should I do? And he did this. Zip up your mouth. Get a journal. Write down your feelings. Make some plans. Write letters to God. Pick, I don't know, maybe 1 to 3 at the most trusted friends that you feel that they are trusted friends. Otherwise, my best advice for women is even to talk to themselves by journaling, to talk to God, and then to find a psychiatrist or a mental health therapist like Dr. Adeyemi or whoever they find, and find a coach. Because one thing that really stops women from progressing in life, whether it's during a divorce or during wherever, is they talk too much. Women talk too much. They go and ask for advice here and advice there. And at the end of the day, they will be stuck. They won't know what to do. So the time for your divorce, I'm sure women were going to think, oh, spend time with your friends. No. It is a time to look within and heal. I didn't say you should become a hermit and not talk to people. Talk to people, but limit it to 3 people. And it's not always your relatives that are reliable. You'll be surprised that it's even your relatives that will lead you in the wrong direction. Be careful. Yeah.
So I feel like that's the time to be very selective.
Yes.
About what you take in and what you give out.
Yes, it's better to take in from professionals if you can. If you can afford professionals, hire professionals that will give you factual information instead of some emotional. Some people will even give you advice that is going to make your situation 10 times worse.
Wow. So it's important that you get people that will tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear.
Yes, exactly. And people who are professionals, because people can only advise you within the limitations of their own mindset. So, and unfortunately, I say this all the time, unfortunately, the majority of women have low self-esteem. I know they don't like to hear this. it's not a bad thing, but as long as we know that the majority of us, I always say us because I don't want to sound like I'm higher than, the majority of us have low self-esteem. So, you know, if you're the blind leading the blind, you're already in down there in the dumps during your divorce, then you're going to talk to women who they themselves are struggling with this low self-esteem. So this is why I say, women, look for professionals that you can talk to. Look for people who understand what they're telling you and they're not just giving you advice from an emotional point of view. Yeah.
If I'm going to get into that particular question now, looking through your page, you talk a lot about self-esteem. And I feel like that's one of the things that are most depleted. One of the things most depleted in divorce or going through a divorce is the self-esteem. People lose sense of who they really are. So I want you to talk on that a little bit. Sometimes when you share your life with, for example, a narcissist, you don't realize that you're depleting daily. So I get a lot of clients tell me that I'm the shadow of what I was before I got into marriage. You know, I'm second guessing, I'm asking myself more questions, I don't feel confident, I've lost every sense of confidence I have. So I want you to address the importance of self-esteem to everyone's emotional well-being. What's the importance of self-esteem? That like you said, a lot of women are suffering low self-esteem. How can they jack it up? What's the booster?
And unfortunately, many don't know they have low self-esteem. That's the problem. You know, if you have a problem and you know you have a problem, you can fix it. Many don't even know they have low self-esteem. That's the worst. So,
really, how do you know someone has low self-esteem?
How do you know that you have low self-esteem?
How do you self-check? Yes.
Some know because they're more self-aware. It depends on how evolved you are as a person. It depends on many things. It depends on how self-aware, how evolved you are. But if you're a very self-aware person, then it's unlikely you'll have low self-esteem. Anyway, so most of those women who have low self-esteem are not even self-aware. Because of what I said previously, a lot of the blind are leading the blind. Again, I'm not criticizing anyone, but you guys know me. I'm blunt in my delivery. It's very blunt. You either like what I'm saying or you don't. I don't beat around the bush. But if you are associating with other women who have low self-esteem, how are you going to know that you have low self-esteem? You know? So, you know, how do you have low self-esteem? How do you know you have low self-esteem? If you're constantly struggling. If you're constantly struggling in many facets of life, you're struggling in your love life, you're struggling in your work life, you're struggling in your business life, your health and wellness is struggling, you probably have an issue with self-esteem, which means you have an issue with self-love, which means you have an issue with self-care. Because if you love yourself, you will find ways to make yourself peaceful and happy and fulfilled. So how do you know you have low self-esteem? If you're on this live today or you're watching the replay and you're struggling, you're in that marriage, you're struggling, you're crying yourself to sleep every night. All of you bombard my DM every day. I tell you, leave. It's not by force. God did not say there's anything wrong with the divorcee. God loves all of us, whether you're a divorcee or you are married or whatever. Me, I've been divorced and my God loves me like anything else. He shows me every day how much he loves me. So stop letting people deceive you without if you get divorced. So you think God wants you to see you crying and miserable? Anyway, let me stick with the topic. I don't want to go at a tangent. What were we discussing before? Yeah. So the way you'll know that you have low self-esteem is you don't have peace. You don't have happiness. You don't have fulfillment. You're just faking it. I went through that for a long time during my marriage. I was faking it. I'll be crying at home, but when I go out, I'll paint my face and everything will be okay. I was struggling inside.
Wow. Now, how can someone boost their self-esteem? How can you move from low to high?
I'll keep it practical. Because I like women, I like to give tips that are practical. The very first thing is look at your inner circle of friends. Look at the women you are around. Like I keep saying it, if you have women around you that are people pleasers, all of them, whenever you meet up with them, they're talking about, oh, you better just manage. Oh, you see the reel that I posted, you better just manage. Oh, he's not beating you now. He hasn't raised the hand. He's just cheating. All of them do it. All these men cheat. Eh? Oh, he's not touching you. He's not having kidney. Just stay there as long as he doesn't beat you up. This is why I keep telling women, you are the cause of women's sorrow. Women are the cause of women's sorrow in relationships, and women are the cause of women dying in relationships, because too many women say that. All these aunties and even some mothers.
Until it happens to them.
Yes. Some mothers will say, just stay there. And what annoys me the most is the majority of these women that are saying this to these women, they go behind their backs and gossip about them and say, she's just there for the, I've seen it happen in real life. I know situations where they tell somebody to stay there, not divorced, and the same people will be gossiping behind her back and say, don't mind her. It's just the money she's enjoying. She wants to kill the guy. She likes the money. She likes the mansion. She likes the car. And I'm like, can you imagine? And this woman stays in this marriage, listening to their advice, not knowing that they're gossiping behind her. So the first thing is look at your friends, okay? If you know that the friends you're with are people pleasers, they have low self-esteem, or they're materialistic. Let's come to that. A lot of women who are materialistic, they have low self-esteem. Let me just tell you that. All these women, yes. All these women.
That's a Twitter poster.
If you're materialistic, if things make you happy, if you have to, especially if you can't afford it, if you're Beyonce, right, or you're Oprah and you're wearing all the shiny things, you can afford it. There are many women that can't afford these materialistic things. Materialism and low self-esteem are first cousins. So if you have women who all they talk about, oh yeah, if all they talk about is these earrings I'm wearing, they were like $20 or $30. I tell women all the time, there's a second-hand shop, as much as, even though I make 7 figures, there's a second-hand shop down the street from here. Sometimes I go there to buy second-hand things. I have some very expensive things, but I also buy things that are not expensive. Because for me, it's all about experiences. I've spent a lot of money on vacations. I love traveling. But I don't spend money on things that women spend money on like that. So if you have women and all they talk about when you're with them is the latest wig, the latest handbag, and who did this plastic surgery and who, move away from them. Those are not go and find women who are talking about career, who are talking about purpose, who are talking about traveling for experiences, who are talking about writing a book, who are talking about their health and wellness. Wow. Not the latest plastic surgery that they want to, women, pick your friends. Honestly, that's the number one cause of low self-esteem.
Association is a very, very, very key thing. Very key. Very, very key.
It is. So that's the first practical tip. Revamp your inner circle and your friends. Number 2 is health and wellness. I'll keep on putting that in there. Look at your health and wellness routines. If you're not feeling healthy, you're not feeling well, if your self-image is low, and I'm not talking about the shiny things you put on. If you're feeling a little overweight, you're feeling a little sick, your doctor has told you you have high cholesterol, you have diabetes, your blood pressure is high, your self-esteem cannot be high. Focus on your health and wellness. That's number 2. Then number 3, instead of buying all those shiny things, invest in hiring a mental health therapist. Go to Talk Mental Health and hire her. That's number 3. Number 4, hire a coach. And I know that my coaching is very expensive. It's not for everyone. You can go and look for less expensive coaches. And if you can afford me, I'll be happy to have you. So those are the 4 things, okay? Revamp your inner circle of friends, focus squarely on your health and wellness, find a therapist, find a coach.
Wow. Listen, if you can take those 4 things that she said, I think you'll be fine. Because I think a lot of people struggle with with self-esteem. It's a big thing. Some people can't face 5 people and say things. Some people can't associate with certain levels of people. You get into a room and you're shy, you're timid, because you're pretty much used to your own bubble, right? And that's not how you would evolve. That's not how you will grow. That's not how you make the impact you really want to make. So it's important that I will stress that again. The association is so important. The friends you keep, the kind of words you listen to. Sometimes you need things that will challenge you and push you to the next level, challenge your status quo, as it were. All right. So let's move into finances, right?
Okay.
Let's move into finances. But before we move into finances, can we touch on people that have a certain kind of phobia for getting into a relationship again because of what the past relationship has left, the residues or the fear, right? Because you find out that, I mean, glad to hear that you're remarried now and happy. What about those that want to desire another marriage? And the statistics don't even help. They say that the second marriage is usually worse, all right, for a lot of people. So how can people break this fear or phobia or PTSD? When you meet someone, you're already, afraid that something could go wrong, like it went wrong the first time. So how can somebody break that, emotional barrier?
It's not going to happen overnight. You have to be very, 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 very patient. It's not going to happen overnight. I was divorced for 8 years before I met my future husband. Yeah, and we got married about 2 years, 18 months after that. So just do the math. So, don't try to rush back in.
That time.
A lot. My life
Was
was...
it a deliberate attempt? Were you deliberately patient? What happened during that time?
So first of all, the first 5 years after my divorce, I did not want to get married again. I obviously I hadn't healed. So I told myself that never again am I going to get married again. My friends will say, we know you, Iyabo. And I'm like, never. I just want to be in a long-term relationship. I'm never doing this anymore. But obviously I hadn't healed. So I was in a few relationships. I was actually in a long-term 4-year relationship right after my divorce. But I knew that I wasn't going to get married to that guy. So during those 4 years, my life went from here to there. I elevated in so many things. So many things. I'm telling you, I spoke at the United Nations 3 times. My practice, my business soared from 6 figures to 7 figures. I traveled the world with my daughters. During those 8 years, my life was amazing. It was amazing because I focused on myself. But I also did a lot of dating, and I just wasn't so, I didn't find, I was very picky. I was very choosy. I wasn't going to settle. But one day I went to church, I think it was around year 6. And it sounded like my pastor was talking to me. He said there's some people in the congregation and they've been dating. They're frustrated. They can't find a good partner. They should just take some time off. He said, if you're able to take 5 years off, take it off. But if you're not, take at least 2 years off. And I was alone in church that day. I was crying, silent tears, because it sounded like he was talking to me. So that day I decided to take 2 years off. And I took 2 years off. I closed all my online dating apps and I did not date anybody in exactly 2 years. I was obedient. And when I went back on Match.com, within 6 weeks, I met my future husband, and he was new to Match.com. And one day I logged in and I was scrolling and I saw him. He popped up, I'm an Englishman, whatnot. I messaged him and that was the end of story. He pursued me diligently after that. So it takes time to heal. What I'll say to women is, that's the most time that you really want to focus on your self-development and your personal development. It's a wonderful time that you'll be able to heal and start engaging in your hobbies and your passions. You know, look at the friends you're with and try to reduce your inner circle and really be with people who are elevated. So make it a time of self-development and focus on yourself, and don't be in a rush to date again. Give it time.
I want you to stress on that about being in a rush to date. Because, of course, you've been with your partner for maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and all of a sudden you're back single, lonely again. And there's this urge to want to get back in. So can you talk about the patience a little bit?
The patience is key, because if you don't really examine why the previous marriage broke, how are you going to know? Because you also have to look within. It's not everything that was the fault of your spouse. There are things, you know, everybody has their own. I had to introspect. I had to look within and figure out, okay, what am I going to do differently? What have I learned? If you see all the books that I read, I was a master of reading. I was reading relationship books, the biblical ones, the non-secular ones, I read so many relationship and self-help books, and I educated myself big time. I was reading a lot. I was writing what I needed in a partner. I did a lot of inner work. You know, I did a lot of inner work. And I focused on what was important. I even forgot, during that time of my divorce is when I bought my dream home. I bought my dream home in the area that you know, I was healing, but then it's because I had positive people around me. My parents were my rock. My dad was actually the one that helped me go ahead with the divorce. I remember the day that my dad told me and said, Iyabo, I have never seen you like this before. Enough is enough. File for divorce and leave this guy. He told me when my mom wasn't around, because all my mom was doing was crying. This is why I'm saying, women, be careful who you're talking to, because if you're talking to we women are usually emotional. Your mom will be crying. She'll be saying, all my mom was saying was, your children, what will happen to your daughters? Money and Rennie. So my dad will just wait till she's sleeping. Then he'll be whispering to me and say, don't listen to her. Your children will be fine. This is how he'll do. Your children will be fine. This man is not good for you. Find that lawyer. File for divorce now and leave him. My dad was my strength. So people were calling me, they were texting me, why are you filing for divorce? I did not answer anybody. I ignored everybody. My dad was my rock, and then my CPA, my accountant, and we'll come to the money part. Those two people, I held them like this beside me. They helped me through it.
Wow, that's interesting. Now let's go to the money part, because that would obviously stretch and take a little bit of time. The money part is so important. I'm saying this because it's amazing some people are still stuck in their marriages right now, suffering domestic violence, suffering all those, and some of them don't have the boldness to leave because of this, and because of dependence on their spouse, particularly women to men in some instances. I mean, I saw one of the quotes you put somewhere on your LinkedIn saying money can buy happiness, which is partially true, but you write that being broke won't make you happy either, which I agree with. So can we talk about the importance of financial well-being to someone that is going through a toxic marriage or a divorce situation? What's the importance of financial well-being? I'm sure people should know that already, but it's very important to stress how you can, be bold to make certain decisions when you have money, by the way. Yeah.
I want to start first by saying, Mr. Dio, a lot of women hide behind the fact of, I don't have money. Money is the problem. What about the kids? I'm a woman, so I know we women are the most resourceful people. Okay, what did I say, women? We are the most resourceful people. If we want to do something, we will do it. Most women hide behind, I don't have money, what about the kids? It's not true. I'll say, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Don't ask me where I saw the statistics, because many of you like to ask me that question. Well, I don't need the statistics. I know the majority.
You see things that happen around.
The majority of women don't leave because they are ashamed. They don't want to live the lifestyle they're living. Let me digress a bit. I'm sure you saw the comment today that I tagged you on. The woman, she had come to my DM, and I hope she's on here. I'm going to scold you a little bit, even though I know you're sad and you're crying. She had come to my DM and asked me what should she do. She's in an emotional toxic marriage. Her husband is very disrespectful. He calls her names. He degrades her. So, I was trying to give her advice. Then she came because I was busy. I stopped answering her. So she came and posted a comment. So I just remembered and I said, talk to the Lagos divorce lawyer. And then she says, we're not even married. If you are on this live, I wish you were here beside me here, because I'll scold you. You are not married to a man, and you are living with him, and you are letting him degrade you and talk you down, and you've had a child with him. You understand what I'm saying with women? Women are their own problems. So most women, Mr. Adeoye, when they tell you I don't have money, take it with a pinch of salt. Many women, I'm telling you, many women are resourceful. Let me tell you something. Women are determined and resourceful people. They are just ashamed to leave that marriage. They are ashamed to scale down. Maybe the kids have been in private school, or the kids are used to some lifestyle, or they dress a certain way. They don't want to move out and go and live in some small place and rebuild, or they're scared of what society will say. I'm telling you, this is why when they post on my, hey, how do I live because of the kids? I'm like, you can live. Even if you're sleeping under the bridge, go and sleep under the bridge. Of course, that's just a joke. I don't mean that. But I wanted to start there. But again, let me come back to what you're saying. Okay, they're scared of finances. This is why I preach it all the time. Women. I don't advocate for stay-at-home mom or homemaker or housewife. My mom was born in 1932. She passed away 3 years ago. She was born in 1932. My mom, anytime I remember my mom, I remember this elegant, beautiful woman who couldn't speak English, who couldn't write English. My mom did not get any formal education, but she had her businesses. She sold ashwebi, she sold gold. She and her older sister did well in business. So did my dad. This is somebody who couldn't speak English. So women, all this stay at home. If you want to stay at home, make sure it's your decision. Just make sure it's not your husband forcing you. But make sure it's your decision. But women, we cannot have our cake and eat it too. Women want women power. They want women independence. I want to be this, but you want your husband to be your bank. You want your husband to be supplying money to you. You can't have it both ways. If you're asking for women independence and you're asking for woman power and woman, what do you guys call it? I don't even know what terms it's in. I'm a feminist with common sense. I'm not a feminist like all of you guys, because if you're a feminist, then be a feminist all through. If you know you're going to be a feminist, then get up and go to work. Then get up and start a business. Oh, well, who's going to take care of the kids? All these nannies abuse kids. That's not true. It's not all. The more money you earn, the better the quality of the nanny you can hire, the better, So get up and go and work. You're an able-bodied adult. You're an able-bodied, physically able person. How does it make you happy to know that you have to be asking your husband for everything? At some point, that will get on your husband's nerves. If I was your husband, I'll get irritated after a while.
Wow.
No, I came on this live to scold women because, I'm not, even if it's $30,000 you earn, even if it's peanuts you earn, but you know that you have some kind of purpose, you have some kind of worth. You know, God has given you gifts. God said, go forth and use these gifts to, you know, to change the world, to fulfill your purpose, to make the world a better place. Being married is not your purpose. Being a wife is not your purpose. Being a mother is not your purpose. Your purpose is larger than your family. Once you find that bigger purpose out there, it will help you be able to take care of your kids better. Your marriage will be healthier. Your husband will value you. You know, there's no husband. I don't want to say no, because they're going to come to my DM and say, who told you? What are the statistics? My husband likes me sitting at home doing no work. Who told you? If I were a high quality man and every day I come home, I just see my wife sitting there and saying she's taking it's not very attractive. Yeah. Let me stop here.
Yeah, begin to step on toes there. Absolutely important. Trust me, for high quality men, it's not attractive. Stay at home moms, not doing anything, being laid back, being, you know, less ambitious. It's not a nice thing. So, something very important that we need to talk about. I saw it start somewhere, and it is estimated that financial problems contribute to 20% of all divorces. So that means most of the divorces you see, about 20 to 40% of them happen because of money. And that means for every 10 marriages you see, one would at least end in a divorce. That's a staggering statistics. Now, why do you think this is the case? Why do you think money is a problem for marriages? Why do you think people are finding it difficult to get along? Why does money cause friction? Does money reveal who you really are?
Because a lot of people, when they're dating, they don't talk about these things before they get married. They just assume that it's going to be okay. And yeah, that was me when my first marriage. I got married at age 25. I met him when I was 17, so I was naive. I didn't know. So yeah, but yeah, we met in medical school. So that was me in my first marriage. I didn't know, but once you know better, you do better, right? So you have to talk about those things when you're dating. I didn't say on the first date and you now start interviewing him, because every man will run away from you, you know. So you ask it at a time when it's, you know, it makes sense to ask, not on the first several dates. But as you guys are getting exclusive and you're getting, you know, he's proving himself to you, you're progressing in the relationship, there are some key things you have to discuss. Money is one of them. You know, what does he expect? If you want to be a career woman, an ambitious woman like me, and you go and marry a man who is a control freak and who wants you to stay home and not lift you and not go to work and just stay home for the rest of your life, taking care of the home and the kids, you have a problem there, right? Or you have a man who doesn't believe in, I don't even know what, you have a man who wants to buy all the flashiest cars on the face of the earth, and you are a bit more conservative. You want to drive Hondas, he wants to drive Bentleys, and, you know, make sure you discuss these things in a nice, non-confrontational way. That's number one, right? Number two is women need to wake up, like I've said all through this live. You know, some women are just lazy. They're just lazy. Some women like the idea of staying home and not working. And then when it backfires, they wouldn't know what to do. So women, make yourselves useful, even if it's a part-time job, even if it's a part-time business. Nobody likes a parasite. You guys remember tapeworm in school? Those of you who are not even doctors, those anybody that hears the word tapeworm, they're like, yeah, I don't want. I'm sorry to say, that's the visual I get with women who just want to be so reliant on men for their finances. So it's, you know, women, and I don't want women to say, oh, it's this new thing now. Women used to stay home. I just gave you the example of my mother. She was born in 1929. She had no education, but she was the best businesswoman you can think of. She had the best self-esteem, best self-confidence. My parents had a lovely marriage. So, you know, there's buying and selling. Even if you don't have an education, there's buying and selling you can do. There's online businesses. So women, please Financial security is key. Stop sitting down saying you're taking care of the kids. Well, once the kids are 10 years old, they don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. You become boring. So you sit down at home for the first 10 years taking care of your child. Once they're in middle school, they don't even when you go and drop them at school, they'll say, Mom, park over there. I don't want my friends to see you. So what are you going to do with your life once your kids don't want to have anything to do with you?
Wow. Really, really amazing. There's a common trend now, and I did not discover this until I began to practice divorce law. And of course, you get a lot of consultations daily, weekly, and there's a common trend in this part of the world. I don't know if it's all over. I don't know if it's everywhere. I don't know if it's where you are, but you find that women are paying the bills now. Now, if anybody had told me before I became a divorce lawyer, I'd have said, maybe it's half. Listen, I listen to people, and women are paying the fees, women are paying the rent, women are paying for food, shelter, clothing. It's ridiculous. I mean, the numbers from the consultations I have, at least I can give you my personal experience. And it's on the rise, particularly in the past decade. Women have risen to a point to a high financial standing. And men have become, most men or some men have become more irresponsible. So how do you live with this situation? For a woman that is very ambitious, and you meet a man not as ambitious, all right? Or what do you even do when you find yourself in this situation where you've risen in your finances as a woman, and you're in a situation where you have to fix things, or you're even divorced and you've got custody of the child, and the man is not doing anything? You're left to shoulder out the responsibilities yourself. So how do we handle that imbalance?
There are many parts of the question you just asked me. I want to first answer the first part of the question. So this is the ones who are still with the husband or the man. They're not yet divorced, and we're assuming they're married. Okay.
You have to put that in.
Yeah, we're assuming that, because if you are not married to the man, yes, and you're living with the man, that's already a problem. Okay. So unless that's what you want, okay, let me rephrase that. If some people don't ever want to get married, they just want to live together, that's fine. I'm not judging anybody. If that's what you want, that's totally fine. But if you're a woman who intends to get married, never cohabit or cohabitate. I don't know. I think never cohabitate or cohabit with a man if you know you still want to get married to him. Engagement is not marriage. Live in your separate homes. Wait until you walk down the aisle and say your I do's before you live with the man. Okay, so we're assuming they're married, and you are saying that the woman does everything, the man doesn't do anything. Now, is the man able-bodied? He's not disabled. There's nothing wrong with him. Are you sure that that man isn't working at all? It's okay for the woman to earn more than the man. Are you sure? The women that are coming to tell you this story, make sure you hear both sides. Okay? So if you're sure that the man is not working, is it, could he be in between jobs? Did he just lose his job?
No,
there are many.
Just laid back.
Okay, just laid back, just lazy.
You take advantage of the woman's ambition.
I was married to one. If he's listening to this, even though he was a doctor, I was married to one. He'll sit in the office with his legs on the table and be talking to his mom and his brother in Nigeria, and I will be there running around in the practice seeing patients. So if you're married to that kind of man, what are you still doing there? If you're married to a man who is able-bodied, it's not that he's sick, it's not that something happened to him and he can't work. He's able to work. He's just taking advantage of the fact that you can make the money and he's not working, probably carrying girlfriends around while you're doing the work. You are the problem. You're low self-esteem is the problem. Your desperation to be married is the problem. Your low self-worth and low everything is the problem. Because if you're with a man and you've had it, of course you have to have a conversation. I'm not saying you just walk out. Have you had a conversation? Have you gone to counseling? Have you tried everything? Or you just want to, okay, so again, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want to show off to people that are married, but you're coming to meet Mr. Dioye and you're complaining he's not helping, he's laid back, he's lazy, he's not doing everything, then what are you doing there? What are you doing there? You're such a man, you leave him and you move on with your life and you go and find an ambitious man. But, I also want to say this though. Women, remember that there are some women that earn more than their husbands, not just for a phase, it may go on forever. But as long as the man is doing his best, you could be earning $100,000 and your husband is earning $30,000. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. But as long as he's ambitious, he's hardworking, and most importantly, he's also contributing to things in the house. Does he cook some meals sometimes? Does he help you with the kids' homework sometimes? Sometimes when you're tired, does he help with some of the cleaning? He doesn't just sit there like the king of the universe and say, okay, you're the wife, you're earning $100,000, but go and cook for me 3 times a day and go. No, it's not going to work.
Sometimes the men themselves are the problem in this situation.
Yeah.
They can't have.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why I'm saying women are the problem, Mr. Dioye, let me say this. We are only in control of ourselves. You cannot change somebody else. So if you sit down and try to change your husband and make him do what he's never going to do, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get sick. Not just mentally sick, you'll start to get physically sick. You'll be stressed out. You will get heart disease because you won't sleep. You will be stressed out. So control what you can control. If you have talked to your husband and he doesn't want... Sorry?
Sometimes women indulge these things.
Yeah.
They talk about
behavior. For me, I'm the same Iyabo with my prestige as a human being, whether I'm single, married, or divorced. I don't have to be a Mrs. to be who I am. I'm God's child and I'm blessed. I am talented. God gave me gifts. I don't need to be, who I am. My value doesn't rely on my marital status. As long as women have to start remembering that, because, culture has made them think like, oh, if I'm divorced, they'll look at... Why do you care who looks at you anyhow? Why is that so important to you? Why do you care? I don't want to care. I talk a lot, so I need, so that we can get all the questions
answered. Said here as just hit hard, as hit home.
So you can't be complaining about something. Change it. You're not a tree. If you have a husband that is lazy, that is not doing anything. I was married to one. I left him. Even my dad said, Iyabo, leave this man. You're better than this. Let him go. Let him and his mother go. Because his mother, that's another topic for another day. The mommy's boys that go and tell their mother everything. And their mother will say, don't listen to her. Don't. My dad said, let him go. Your life is better than this. Don't listen to your mom. Your kids will be fine. Divorce him and move on. I'm glad I listened to my dad.
Let's talk about expenses, because this is a very important segment of divorces. When you go through a divorce, how do you manage your expenses? How do you, like we say it's in Nigeria, how do you cut your coats according to your size? Some says material. How do you manage, or how do you live within your means? How do we realize that divorce is not a license to, in quote, live your best life, in quote, and just plunge, without tracking? So how do we cut those? Because, it's 2 homes, one home becoming 2 homes to manage, basically. So how do you, stay within the parameters of what you should spend? And how are you not? How do you curb being too materialistic, like you were talking about before?
Do women do that? Do they become materialistic when they are going through a divorce and when they
Some
divorce?
women are in that space. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh,
that,
that's the worst time. That's the
that
time you need
from
to cut
Forbes,
your coat.
yeah,
Hmm?
from Forbes saying that women suffer much more significant drop in their finances after a divorce, much more than men. Maybe you have 50% for women, you have 20% for men. And I feel like there's a factor for that.
Well, that's
Even
because women already start low, though, Mr. Dewey. That's because women are going to suffer more financially because they're not as financially secure as men in the first place.
so starting the race, as it were,
Yeah,
you're already very low.
yeah,
You're at a advantage position.
yeah.
And sometimes you find the women paying the bills. You find the men hands off, right? So when you leave the women to pay the bills, of course they will suffer more. Now, how talking about managing expenses, even if you're not materialistic per se, I want you to stress on the importance of managing expenses being in this new situation now.
It's very important, and there are many practical ways to manage your finances. Going through a divorce is not the time to start splurging on material things. It's not the time to start going out on social things and buying all of the ashwebi they bring to you because you're like, oh, I'm healing.
I'm
So you're
free.
buying, I'm free, I'm buying ashwebi.
Well, I need to go outside more often.
You need to go outside. You need to go outside for one reason, because you need nature to heal. Okay, I'm a child of God. I'm not what's it called, the modern Christians, but being outside helps you in your healing. That's the outside you need, as long as it's safe, right? Depending on which country you're in. Don't go out at night when it's not safe. But getting fresh air, being outside, in fact, sometimes taking off your shoes and walking barefoot, helps you heal. Just connecting with nature, being around trees, don't stay in your house all the time. Your depression will worsen. So that's the only outside you need. You don't need outside that's going to take your money. You don't need to take all the ashwebis and stuff. No, this is the time to really be very cautious of how you spend. And how can you monitor your finances? It depends on the kind of person you are. For me, I'm still quite conventional I still have my journals and my diary. I will make a list of everything. If you ask me now in my head, I know all of my, even up to my business expenses, I know all my numbers. Women, you have to know your numbers. Know how much you're paying on your gas bill, on your electricity bill, on clothes, on all of that. So during that phase, you want to focus on your needs, not your wants. Okay? You focus on your needs, not your wants. So you're going to get a pen and paper and write everything down. How much do you earn? How much is the money that you have coming in? What is your salary? If you're getting what's it called, child support, or is it early money? I don't know what you guys, if you're getting money from your ex to be, write that down. So write all your income. Okay, it's simple mathematics. Write down your income, write down all of the expenses that are necessary, your child's school fees, all of those things. Okay, and sometimes, it's not always, but sometimes you may have to scale back even on the kind of school your kids go to. Hopefully you won't have to, but sometimes in life you have to go low before you can come back up. So, so write all of those things down. You may just have to support. If you have to put them in a school that is not as good as the one they're going to now, then you give them more support, give them more scholastic support at home. Your kids will be fine, but write down all the things. How much is food? If you used to go and shop at some fancy supermarket before, go to the market, go to the farmer's market, find ways to cut down on your expenses. Don't start buying all the new wigs. The old one you want to have at home, go and wash it. Go and wash it and put it back on. The clothes, so write down your needs and make a tabulation of what's coming in, what's going out. Be very strict with your finances. If you're more of a technical person, you can use an app. There are many apps now that can help you monitor your finances. I'm giving you the grades there. If you have a little bit more money, hire a bookkeeper. Bookkeepers are not expensive, but they will bring you a lot of value. They will give you some advice on how you can, manage your expenses, what you should be spending, maybe some tax cutoffs or whatnot. Then if you're really, maybe you're a professional like a lawyer or a doctor and you have more money, hire a CPA. I had a CPA from residency and he helped me through my divorce. I still have the same CPA now with my businesses. So I'm giving you can manage your own money yourself. Or if you have more money, you can hire maybe a part-time bookkeeper to help you really, manage those finances. Or if you even have more money, invest in a CPA because they will really, really help you with being able to manage your money. So those are the 4 practical tips I would give. Did that answer the question?
Absolutely.
People doesn't know what a CPA is, a certified public accountant. So a CPA is an accountant. He's a professional money person. So we call them CPAs in America. Maybe in other countries they're called something else, but they're accountants, like your personal accountant.
All right. Someone going through domestic violence and has got low finance, and for them that's the reason they're still in that marriage. I get that a lot. We've got 4 kids, my job doesn't pay well, but I'm suffering domestic violence every day. What can you advise such person?
So are they going through the divorce, right? Or are they already divorced?
No, a lot of them are still in the marriage, but they're suffering domestic violence. They have low income. So they're fear, like, if I have to step out, I might be shooting myself in the foot because you might not even take care of the children. Then, of course, I can't take care of myself.
Okay. So there's no discussion about that, ladies. If you're listening, if you're on this live or you're listening to the replay and you're suffering domestic violence, you have to leave as a matter of urgency, safely. Look at whatever resources you have in the country you live in, and please get those resources, okay? Find out what protection there is for you. Have to leave that situation as soon as possible, because otherwise, God forbid, it may be your dead body that will be taken out from there. But you have to also do it safely, because most men who are doing this, if they hear that you want to leave them, they can get very violent. So you have to seek trusted friends, trusted confidants, or look for some authorities. You can Google, where can I go? Who can help me? Which authorities can help me if I'm suffering domestic violence? There are many shelters. In many of the developed countries, there are many shelters for women who are suffering from domestic violence. Look for help and leave as soon as possible. Okay, that is the number 1 I want to say, because domestic violence can lead to your death, God forbid. And if you're on here, you're suffering domestic violence, my prayer for you is that you can leave safely. Now, so the first thing, did I answer the question? They have to leave. There's no.
You don't have to bother about the next thing, which is money for the kids. I mean, no. You need to be alive.
You need to be alive. Like I said from the beginning of this talk, is the first primary thing is my health and wellness, which means I need to be healthy, I need to be well to stay alive. So, that's the first thing. Where can I go in the interim? I want to believe that they're good people in the world. Call a trusted friend, call a trusted auntie, try all of those people first, but make sure they're people that are not going to now tell the abuser, your so-called husband, where you are. This is why I always prefer professionals, because I'm somebody that loves everybody, but I trust only a few people. Yeah. I'm not a very trusting person. You have to be careful. The only person I trust 100% is God. You have to be careful. So it's better to look for professionals. And so if you know that you don't have any friends you can trust, Google it. There will be something in the area where you live. Are there any resources in Lagos for people suffering domestic violence?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So we have DSVLT. We have welfare offices, but obviously the most important ones, I think, is the support system you have around you.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure person that will be willing to take you and you can find your way up. That was going to lead me to my next question. For those that are going through a financial meltdown, finances are down, what are the tips you can give? How can people move from money to honey, like you say?
Oh, yeah.
How can people move from a situation where they're earning very low amounts? How can people boost up?
Oh, that's easy. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, what degrees do I have? List your degrees. What degrees do I have? What skills do I have? Even if you don't have any degree, if unfortunately didn't go to school, or you're a high school dropout or whatnot, when you stepped foot, or when you were born into this world, God gave you some amazing gifts. So even if you don't have a formal education, what do people always praise you about? Do people eat your food and you're like, Mary, whoa, you should open a restaurant, you're so good? Are you a good cook? When people enter your house, is it meticulously clean? Is it well arranged? Do people praise you about, the way your house looks? You could be an organizer. You could start some kind of cleaning business. You could humble yourself and go and clean some homes. Necessity is the mother of invention. If you need to do it, swallow a humble pill, go and clean their home. Ask, around, who needs a caterer, who needs a personal chef. Go and cook for them. Work for free so that you can learn. There's so many things you can do. You can work for free. You can say, you can look for a business and say, you know what, I want to try and start my own business soon. And I'll be diligent, I'll be hardworking. Let me just work with you for free for a few months. And there's so many things you can do, but just remember that you cannot have pride when you're doing this, because you're going to have to maybe start low and go up. You're going to have to prove yourself to some employers that I can do this work. Just give me a chance. Let me work for you for free, and you'll see my abilities. Or you think of your best gifts. Do you know how to sew clothes very well? Can you be a tailor for a while? There's so many things you can think of.
What's not acceptable is just laying fallow and just wallowing.
No.
You can't afford
or talking. Or talking. Women like that. They'll start asking for advice from every woman everywhere. Then they'll be confused. They won't know what to do. So limit the people you're asking for advice, so that you don't get, the more people you ask for advice, the less you can focus on what you're doing. Somebody said content creation, braiding hair. Thank you. Braiding hair. Do you know that there's some people who braid hair in this Atlanta? If you hear how much they make in a year, they make a lot of money. Braid hair, you can have a mobile braiding shop. You don't even need to have a shop. There's the lady who comes to braid my hair at home now. She goes to people's homes to braid. Just make sure you're safe. Again, that's another thing. Make sure you know where you're going. If you feel like it's not safe, it may be dangerous, don't go. But there's so many things you can do. Content creation, I didn't say talk about content creation. You know why? Because you have to be a certain personality to be successful online. Your skin has to be as thick as an elephant, because when those trolls start to call you names or disrespect you or say all sorts of things, when you are just healing from a divorce, are you going to be able to handle it? So that was why I left that part out. Content creation is a good idea. Earning money online is a good idea, but you are already in a vulnerable situation. You will not be able to handle it, because people are mean. When they start to call you names or post some ugly comments on you, you just close the thing down and go into depression again. But content creation is a good idea, but probably not one of the first things you want to do.
Fantastic. We're coming to the end of this. I would like to take just one or two questions. So if you've got a question to ask Dr. Iyabo, just one.
And I have some time. I'll stay till 4:30, because I do see that a lot of questions were on there. I want to take most of your questions. Right. I'll stay. Nice. I'll stay on. I have a big heart for my ladies. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, let me just try and go up and see questions that have been asked. How do they bounce back on their finances after they leave their violent husbands? I think we've answered that. Somebody says, I was in that shoe, in fact, with 4 kids. Now I work 2 jobs and using doctor's principles of cutting expenses and beginning to find balance. Yet to pursue the divorce because I want to get financial balance. Okay. So our advice us to ask our questions right now. So I'll be paying attention to the questions coming now, not the ones that have come, before, because it's hard to scroll up.
Yeah, there were a few questions up there before, but yeah,
If you don't mind,
ladies, you should probably use the question box.
yeah,
Mr. Dio, let them use the question bubble so we don't lose the questions.
yes. Please, you can use the question bubble so that we can get your questions real time. Somebody says, how do we manage the assertion that marital issues are spiritual?
I don't understand that question.
A marital
Is it that what? That is juju? There's no juju that can affect you if you're covered by the blood of Jesus.
Well, what I would say is, as far as we're human beings, there will be conflicts, there will be misunderstandings, there will be reason to have conflict. So, if somebody says, how important is it for a man to be financially buoyant for an ambitious woman?
How important is it for a man to be financially buoyant
I'll say for an ambitious woman.
Okay, so that question itself.
What should a woman of ambition be looking at where she wants to make a choice or not to remarry, for example? You're ambitious, what should you be looking out for?
Okay, so if you are ambitious, look for a man who is ambitious. When you say financially buoyant, I don't know what that number is. Some women, again, are in a dream state. There's some women who, it's true, there's some women who earn $50,000. They call themselves ambitious, but they're looking for a man who earns $500,000. So when you talk about unrealistic, so financially buoyant is a very non-specific term.
Yeah.
If you are ambitious, look for a man who is also ambitious and build together. You don't have to get everything ready-made, and you don't need to get a bank. Cut your coat according to your size. Stop copying all of the women out there. A lot of them that are telling you, my husband is rich and he buys me this, buys me that. They're all miserable in their homes. Don't listen to them. They're pretending. So as long as he's ambitious, he has dreams, he has goals, he has plans, and he's showing you that he's working hard as you are working hard, the numbers don't really matter.
This question says, how do you manage the emotion of the pain, resentment sometimes that comes from your ex? Now, I'm sure the divorce is complete now. You live in different homes. Your ex not contributing to the kids' welfare. You're not all the responsibility. What do you do? How do you deal with that emotion?
You cannot control anybody. You can only control yourself. That is my situation. I took charge by myself. You can't control anybody.
I heard the therapist once say that sometimes you have to act like your ex were dead.
Yeah. Women give themselves trouble too much. They give themselves sleepless nights. You can't change anybody. If he doesn't want to contribute to the 6 kids that he birthed, he will face his heavenly father one day, and his heavenly father will ask him that, why were you so irresponsible? It's not your business. Ignore him and do what you can. Take care of yourself, take care of your kids. And I'm telling you, if you focus on yourself and your kids, God will bring you that amazing man that will take so much good care of you and love your kids as well, that you'll be like, wow, men like this exist. Stop focusing on him. Let him go. You provide for your kids. Stop fighting him.
Wow. Stop fighting him. That's a story for someone.
You get sick. Women, I'm telling you, you'll get sick.
Fighting against is probably facing what he's doing, particularly men. They are fine. They're very comfortable.
And the minute you ignore him and you don't ask him for money, you stop fighting him, then he'll start regretting leaving you. Then that's when he will be now looking for a way to come back. The best way to handle people who are irresponsible is to ignore them.
Wow. And I dare say that you need to put yourself in the financial situation. Sometimes it's because of the dependence you still have. So if it takes you managing the expenses that you incur for the kids and living within your means, if you have to, as the doctor said, you have to take a step down on the school they attend, on the expenses and the bills and all of that, what they eat, how they splurge, how they enjoy, how they flex. We have to step down on that to make sure that you are well, right? Your wellness is intact. Then you got to do that, all right? Then you need to understand that you're in control of what you do. Don't give the control to your ex. There's a reason why your ex is your ex. Some people might say it's easier said than done, but really there's no other way than what doctor has said. There's actually no other way to go around it. You need to, like I said, that therapist said, you need to act like your ex were dead sometimes. And let them be the one to come and say, you've not been asking me for stuff, you've not been disturbing me for stuff, what's up? You know.
Don't pick up his phone. When he calls you, when you ignore him and he comes and says, I haven't heard from you, don't block him. If he's not providing money for your kids, block him. Like you say, like Mr. Dio said, pretend as if he's dead.
Yes.
This question, I have to answer this question, Mr. Dio.
Which one?
Somebody's father saying that somebody should go back to a violent marriage. That father is not your father.
There's a reason why I didn't say that, for sure.
Let me just tell you now, blood doesn't mean that somebody is your relative. Did you hear me? A blood connection doesn't mean that somebody is your relative. I told you, I'm sure if you were at the beginning of this live, I said it. I said, sometimes it's your relatives that will lead you to your downfall. Yeah. That father you have, may God forgive me, I don't want to be disrespectful to elders. He's not a good person. Distance yourself from him and please take care of yourself. Do not go back to that violent marriage. Don't. Your dad is doing it only for his own face in the world. Parents do a lot of things selfishly. They don't want to be looked at in their social club as if their kids failed. Some parents would rather their children die in a violent marriage than their social club knowing that their child is going through a divorce.
So sadly, so really true. So people are just preserving a record. No one has ever been divorced in our family. Why should you be the first?
Don't take your kids to go and visit their dad. Disconnect yourself completely from him and go your own way. If he's going east, you go west. Don't see him anymore.
Someone is asking, getting to know that you and your partner are same genotype after 2 years of marriage. Please, what's your take on it?
I don't understand the question.
Getting to know that you and your partner are same genotype after 2 years of marriage. They're married already. They probably found out they're AS. I'm thinking. What's your take on it?
Oh, thinking about the sickle cell disease situation, but technology. Okay, well, medical advances have kind of helped with that. You can now find out in the early stages of your pregnancy whether the kid is AS or SS. But I know there's still the religious decision of if it's an SS, am I going to terminate the child? That's your personal decision. But medical advances will let you know whether the child is AS or SS. Then it's your decision to decide what you want to do.
So says, how do you manage trust issues after divorce? Like you said you had.
You have to heal. You know, trust issues, I had that for a long time. You have to heal. The way you manage that is you give yourself patience. Enjoy yourself as a single woman. It's a beautiful life. I enjoyed myself as a single woman. In fact, my daughters were getting scared that, Mom, you're enjoying this single life too much. Or you need to go back online dating because we don't want you to be lonely after we leave home. I actually was really enjoying it. I was traveling everywhere and anywhere. I had loved my space.
The dating stage, when you said you dated a number of people, how did you manage that? Can that be draining? It can be draining sometimes, I want to believe.
It was draining. It was draining. It was draining after a while, and I gave myself breaks, but it was also empowering. It was
Oh.
draining when I had too many dates, but it was also empowering because I remembered how attractive I still was. Huh?
So people have questions in the question box. I can't seem to see the question reason.
It was nice to date because it reminded me how attractive and how awesome I still was when I would go out on dates with these men and they would be like, you're divorced? Is he crazy? You know, like how could anybody divorce you and you're so beautiful? Like, you sure you're in your 40s? You look like you're 30. And it made me feel awesome. So, you know, it was also empowering in that. And it was just something to do. I enjoyed lots of free meals. And as long as you're not having sex with them, though, close your legs, you know.
So how do you build your self-esteem again after teenage pregnancy?
After teenage pregnancy. Why after teenage pregnancy? The general question is even, how do you build your self-esteem? It's the same way as what I said you know, building your self-esteem after any kind of rocky part of life is the same thing. So you want to go back and watch the replay of this video because I don't want to repeat it, but it's all the same principles.
There's no specific demography or different way to build self-esteem. Totally agree. Somebody says how to handle the feeling of knowing your children are growing up without a father figure.
It is better for kids to see your strength as a woman, that you did not make do with less than you deserve in a marriage, so that when they grow up, they will not also stay in terrible situations. Your kids will be fine. Okay, kids do 10 times worse staying in marriages that are empty, that are, you know, loveless, where they see the parents fighting. Your kid, yeah, they'll need therapy, they will need counseling, but at the end of the day, they may have a rocky up and down, but they'll be better off knowing that, okay, you know, this is what I need to do, this isn't what I need. You know, they'll learn from your mistakes. Stop worrying about those kids. God will take care of those kids. Just make sure you put them in counseling. Make sure you get a therapist for them.
I feel like single parents feel they owe themselves the responsibility to do all the caretaking. You know, God has a role to play. You can't do everything. Okay. Sometimes you push yourself and you demand so much of yourself. Somebody's saying, I really have a lot of questions to ask, but I'm currently depressed, and I see a lot of people giving out love heart emojis. So you might want to speak with doctor or book a session or something. I mean, sometimes
if you're feeling that depressed, please, Dr. Adeyemi, can you please connect with this person? Dr. Adeyemi is on here. She's a psychiatrist, talk mental health. Please, can you help this lady who's feeling depressed and can't ask questions? She needs help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Finally, before we go, I'd like to ask about those that are now single moms, single parents, single dad. You're now in a situation where you're pretty much doing what people should do, basically. What encouragement can you give to those people? Because ideally, children are supposed to live with father and mother. That's how it was wired to be. Yeah. So when you find yourself, particularly for the single moms, they find themselves in the situation where they are changing the bulbs, they're cooking, they're taking the kids to school, they are basically playing the dual role. Mm-hmm. What encouragement do you have for such people, and how do you help their psyche? Because it can be difficult when you used to live in a place where the man was hands-on, and now you're out, and now you have to do every single thing. You have to turn on the gen. If you're in Nigeria, you have to go out and do this. You have to go out and do that. Yeah.
I'm a practical person, so the first thing I'll tell you is that ask for help. That's how I was able to cope. Again, a lot of people will say, "Oh, but Dr. Iyabo, you had you had money. That's why." Help doesn't always have to be paid help. Speak up and ask for help. You know, like I say, I always want to assume that there's more good people in the world than bad people. If people know your situation, they will help you. You know, like the gen you said, if you can't turn on the gen, you know, talk to some of your friends that have a husband or something, or somebody's brother or nephew, and just say, please, can you come and help? Ask for help is the first thing. That asking for help is a need. It's not a want. It's necessary, because if you don't ask for help, you'll burn out. And burning out is another recipe for depression.
Yeah.
So please ask for help. At that, look for a caterer. I could not cook and do all and manage my business and all of that. I looked for a caterer, and I would order food in big quantities, freeze some. So look, as much as possible, try to delegate parts of your life to people to help you.
Very important. One last question here says, how do you determine if a next partner or spouse cares about your children in your next marriage?
I love that question. The first thing I want to tell you, one practical tip I want to say is, if you have kids and you're looking to enter the dating field again, make sure that the person you're going to date is somebody that has had kids before. Don't go and look for some young gentleman because he's tall, dark, and handsome, because he's fresh and he hasn't had kids. No, that's my first advice to you. For me, that was a deal breaker for me. I knew that I was never going to get married to someone who had never been married before, number one, and who had never had kids before. I needed somebody that could understand my situation. Absolutely. Because, you know, if you've never been married before, how are you going to understand all of the, you know, nitty gritty and everything about marriage, but especially with the kids situation? If you marry a man who's never had kids, he may not be taught, even if your kids are grown up, your kids never leave home. You know, he may not be tolerant to the fact that you're still a mother. He may start to get impatient and irritated if your kids are visiting, or maybe you want to go out on a date someday. You can't, you have to go and see the kids. You know, it's important. For me, that's the first thing. Make sure the man has kids. And then, like any dating thing, you're going to activate all your senses. You know, you're going to listen to what he's saying. You're going to give yourself time to date him, to know him well, to know his friends, to know his parents. You know, dating, there's nothing fast about dating. Just relax and get to know this man before you let him into your life around your kids.
Wow, that was good value. I hope I've answered the questions for someone that, you know, that is potentially looking to what do they call it? Yeah, blended families, you know, someone having kids, you having kids, and you both coming together to get into a new marriage.
Blended families can be very complex. It's good for the man to have kids. They can be very complex. So have all those discussions while you're dating. Have all those discussions. Who's going to are you going to be disciplining the kids, or who's going to discipline the kids? Who's going to correct the kids? Who's going to be financially responsible for the kids?
Very important.
Have all of, oh yeah.
Yeah, when we're married, that, listen, these are your kids. They're your kids, take care of them. I will just show them love. I will do nothing wrong to them, but take care of your kids. So you need to have those conversations before you marry. That's for sure.
You have to, you know.
Yeah, you must have them. You must have them.
They're awkward, but you must. Don't have them in the first several dates. Relax, get to know him, you know, all of that first. But once the dating is progressing, you have to bring up those topics.
Very important. Wow, fantastic. Listen, this has been a very rich session. And for those of you that have been posting, is it going to be saved? Is it going to be posted? It's going to be posted. I assure you that. One final thing before we go is, listen, you can actually have Dr. Iyabo with you. Dr. Iyabo is not just for this live session. I'm very sure that people on this live session, as a matter of fact, I want to extend an invitation to Dr. Iyabo to speak to. There's a divorce support group I have, you know, of quite a number of people that are, you know, in that system, people that are divorced, people that are going through a divorce, and I think we're about 260 on the group right now. I think that's a place that it would be very nice to get a coaching for people. So if you're on this live session, I'm just going to give Dr. Time to tell you how you can connect with her. Sometimes you need to understand that what you pay for is what you value. Very important. What you pay for is what you value. So, Doctor, take it from here.
It's very easy to sign up with me. If you joined late, I did say in the beginning that I'm that jack of all trades when it comes to coaching. Everybody says niche down, niche down, niche down. I don't need to niche down. Why? Because I'm very, very good at many, many things. And I know women need all of these things. So I'm that coach that can help you with your relationship, your dating, your marriage. So I'm a relationship, dating, and marriage coach. I'm also a wellness and weight loss coach. And I keep saying weight loss because that's another topic for another day. We Black women let ourselves go.
We should keep doing these lives together.
I know.
This has been...
So I'll be glad to come back. You know, the weight loss, because we Black women, we let ourselves go. We gain too much weight. You don't want to know how many Black men come to my life and my DM, and they're like, Dr. Iyabo, my wife is gaining a lot of weight. I don't know how to approach her and tell her about this. Well, how do you suggest I tell her? So anyway, I'm a wellness and weight loss coach, but I'm also a business and financial coach. Those three things, every single woman needs. I don't care if you're going through a divorce or a separation, or you're single or you're married. You need a coach beside you that will help you with your relationships, your dating, your marriage, your wellness and your weight loss, and your business and your finances. So having said all that, I don't come for free and I don't come cheap. Like Mr. Adioye said, you get what you pay for. If you go to the link in my bio, you'll see all of my programs there. My least expensive program is $2,000 US, and that's for 3 days. But those 3 days, you see what you've had on this live for 1.5 hours. You can imagine having me for 3 days in your life.
There's
No
no way that person is going to be the same.
I know. I tell women that my 3-day coaching is like having 6 months coaching with some coaches. Okay? Because those 3 days, I will be coaching you constantly, except when we're both sleeping. You'll have me unlimited. Wow. And then my 1-week coaching is $4,000, and my MBA PhD program of coaching is my 8-week program, which is $25,000. My coaching is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for women who say everything is too expensive. It's for women who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they want the best, and they want to elevate and be better in their lives. That's who my coaching is for. So just come to my DM and say, I'm ready for your coaching. Send me a link. I will personally send you the link. You will pay and we will start coaching. Or you just go to the link in my bio, choose whichever program you want, pay for it. As soon as I get the notification, we will start coaching. That's it.
As simple as that. All right. Dr. Iyabo, thank you so much. We will do this again. It's been the most interesting 90 minutes I've had in a long time.
But Mr. Adioye, I have to get into the interview seat now and say the reason that I agreed to do this live with you is because I know that what you do is vital to what a lot of my community needs. So, and because this video is going to be on my own YouTube, I want you to tell my community how you can be of help to them, because they need to know. So how can you help women?
Now, I can say this for free here. 90% of my clients are women. And if you check the statistics of those that file for divorces more, women file for divorces more. And there's a reason why. Some men are very, as is often said, are very comfortable staying in toxic marriages. they'll find other options, they'll set themselves up.
Yeah.
But you know, women would rather want to close the chapter and end it nicely. So you see, a man would rather spend his money he should have spent on divorce, maybe in the club, buy something nice, dash somebody, give a side chick, you know, but women like to do things properly most of the time. So women are very decisive. That's what I found out. Women are very decisive of what they want to do. When most women decide that I want to take this step, most of the time they usually take that step. And one thing I can say is you need to leave. If there's any word you heard a lot from Doctor today, it is how to make the decision to leave a marriage that is not serving you. Because we need to realize that two become one. But it is possible that it is important that one goes back to being one when you're losing it, you're losing your essence. You're losing the very essence of your being. Because it's amazing we're born to do purpose, to do life, you know, through God. You know, but when you find that threatened by somebody else, not less your husband or your wife, it's important to make that step and leave. All right. So I'm just here to take you through that process formally to leave. And the good thing about me is I've got a ministry mindset. So I see a lot of divorced people broken. And that's why I mix up my live sessions. I do some legal advice, but I also want to work on your psyche, the way you think, how your mind works. You know, some people are swinging into depression after divorce. Some people are feeling like, you know, marriage was everything to them. I'm nothing. I'm done. My life is finished. I've heard all sorts of, you know, blasphemous statements because you ended your marriage. So I'm in a position where I can help you, you know, through these sessions that I have with someone like Dr. Iyabo to give you that soft landing that you need, because you can actually be much better. I've seen people come out of marriages and they are much better than they were in their marriages. That's interesting. You leave a marriage and you're much better. And for me, that's the answer you want to give to critics, to doubters, to people that think marriage is where you can blossom. So people have decided not to marry again after divorce, Dr. Iyabo. So people have decided to stay on their own and just live their best lives. They've had 3 kids already and they're fine.
That was me. That was me the first 5 years of marriage. I said, never, ever, ever will I get married again. But it's because I wasn't yet healed.
And you lived your best life then. You were breathing fine. You could do things. You could take decisions. You could take courses, you know. So it is important that you don't stay in toxicity. That's not what you were made for. You were made for more, right? So I'm here to help you through that journey. Then obviously you have the coaches to I don't believe you should come out of your marriage and think that you'll be fine, you'll be good on your own. No, you need someone to hold your hands, and it's like someone is taking you out of Egypt back to the land of Canaan or something. You need to come out with someone. You need someone to help you, particularly someone that's probably been there, you know, to see you through the experience. So I'm sure that we would have a lot to do together, Dr. Iyabo. Really great to be.
Do you only take women who are in Lagos, in Nigeria, or all over the world?
All over the world.
Okay.
I've got at least 30 diaspora clients.
Oh, good.
I think, you know, so yeah. People that want to file for divorces abroad, yeah, they're engaging me as well. But
how will the laws, like if somebody is in America, how are you going to be able to help them with their divorce proceedings with the laws?
Good. So it depends on where you married, right? And where you're domiciled. If you got married in Nigeria and you're now domiciled abroad, of course you can choose to get your divorce over there. You can choose to get your divorce over here.
Okay.
It just depends on the circumstances that you want.
Okay.
Some people are more expensive over there, you know, than doing it over here. So it depends on the decision you want to make. If you got married over there, you can actually also divorce over here. But that's if you are domiciled here.
Okay.
Domicility is very important.
Okay, so when they come to you, you'll explain all that today. I just want to know so that I can be referring women to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You just consultation and we
Okay.
talk. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Iyabo.
Thank you.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I feel like a child with some candy in my hands right now. But most importantly, I'm happy for the women that came on live. I'm sure they're in their hundreds. Thank you for coming on. I'm sure you learned something. You know, my heart goes out to people that it's never an easy situation. I know Dr. Iyabo makes it sound, you know, she I suppose some people are like, this woman just makes it look like so easy.
It's actually easy. Let me tell you something, Mr. Adioye. Do you know that that's the most common criticism I get from women?
Yes.
Most women who have blocked me, who don't like me.
Sorry.
Do you know what the criticism is?
Yeah.
They say she's so simplistic. If only life was that simple. Actually, it is. It's we women that complicate our lives. Take life simple. 2 + 2 is 4. Just take it. You know, the simpler you think, the happier and more peaceful your life will be. When I see them blocking me and saying she's so simplistic, it's not that simple. But don't you know that this and that and them, like, you're just giving yourself a headache.
Don't overcomplicate the matter. Just breathe and you analyze. See, what I found out is that there are general principles for some things that will never change, right? Like the lady that asked about self-esteem for someone that is, for a teenager that is pregnant, right? Or that got pregnant, that's same principle. The same principle, nothing different. The most important thing you need is, first, you need self-awareness. Just be aware about yourself, your self-esteem, the right association. All of these things are things that we already know. You know, but we don't practice them.
Yeah.
So there's no deal in some of these things. So don't see it as a challenge. Don't see it as an affront to you or against your situation to make you feel like, oh, she doesn't understand exactly how I feel. Listen, she understands it and she's been able to go over it. So see it from that point of view, that she's trying to bring it to a point where you don't see it as a big deal. The fact that you see it as a big deal is a pointer to the fact that there's something wrong with the self-esteem.
Yeah.
Right? The moment you see it as something very easy, as something you can deal with easily, then you made progress.
Yeah. Somebody is saying there's a question in this question box. Do you want to read the last one and then we call it a day?
See, listen, I've seen questions pop in. I've seen a number on the question box. But when I open it, I don't see no question.
Yeah.
Can you open it?
Probably didn't do it well. Yeah. Well, they'll have to come to our next session then. I guess technical difficulties. I'm going to leave everybody with this statement. Write it in your journals, everybody. Okay? People will cause you problems, and people will also heal you. So be careful of the people you choose to be in your life. Let me repeat. People will damage you. Let me use a different word. People will damage you, and people will also heal you. So it is very, very crucial that you choose the people who are around you very carefully. If you're suffering or struggling today, it is most likely because of the kinds of people you've associated with, whether it's relatives or spouse or friends. But on the same hand, it's also people that are going to heal you. So be careful of people.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. The person posted the question on
Okay.
Sorry. A 35-year-old man wants to have babies with a 22-year-old girlfriend without marriage because he doesn't believe in marriage. They are deeply in love. In what case should she consider to say yes? So he wants to have kids with her, but he doesn't believe in marriage. I mean, maybe just cohabiting or. So she's asking him what case to say yes. The way you're laughing.
Women ask the darndest questions. Darndest questions. That 22-year-old, is she fine with having children out of wedlock? Is that her dream? Is that her desire? She's not a baby and she's not being held in captivity. Okay? She has a brain. Okay? I don't want to sound rude, but sometimes I have to say these things. Does the 22-year-old want to have kids out of wedlock? Is it her desire? Or she's just giving in to this man because that's what the man wants? If she's just giving in because of that's what the man wants, you heard what I said in the beginning of this live. We women are our own problem. Okay? Why would you ever, you know, I don't even know why would you ever want that kind of situation? Why? You know, Mr. Dio, you see now what I'm saying, that women are their own problem. How can you even ask that question?
I think it starts with you determining what you want. It's not for Dr. Iyabo to come and tell you what are the steps to know if to say yes or not. In fact, for me, asking the question shows that you know what you want.
I know. She's looking for somebody to be on her side.
So sometimes, before asking questions, sometimes you need to determine within yourself. Because what I found out is within yourself is where you suffer. Within yourself is where you enjoy. If you answer the question within yourself and you take actions from within yourself, your within yourself will still enjoy the fact that you answered within yourself. But if you want external validation for what within yourself was not happy with, you would suffer within yourself. If you understand that, my grammar. So that's it. Somebody says, please come for DSG money meeting. That's the divorce support
group.
group.
What's DSG?
DSG. So I started the divorce support group.
If you guys can afford me, do you know how much I charge per hour?
That's the fact. That's a fact.
Let's,
all right, guys.
Let's discuss it offline. I'll give you a discount, but I charge a lot. But I will come if you can afford me.
All right.
Somebody said my laugh. When you hear me chuckle like that, I'm scolding you, women. Some of the questions you ask make me really sad. Honestly, that last question I just read made me really, really sad, because women, what you do is that you give up your future happiness and peace for some temporary goodness. So how do I put it? You just want to have kids. Maybe you just feel this man is handsome, he's nice. You don't think about the future. That is a terrible way to start a relationship. Run.
Somebody, how much? Talk to Dr. Iyabo.
How much for what?
I have no idea.
Are you asking me about how much it is for the DSG meeting, or how much is it for my one-on-one coaching?
Whatever you're asking, you can let us know before we get off.
The DSG meeting, I charge $3,500 for 1 hour of my time. $3,500 for 1 hour of my time. I will give you a discount if it's related to Mr. Adeoye, but that's how much I charge.
All right.
Oh, you talk mental health. Oh, she's gone. Let me write down your handle so I can give it to Dr. Adeyemi. Faith, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Adeyemi is gone. OMOG, Faith Omogwa. Okay, I'll send her handle to you. Okay, Mr. Adeoye, let me get off here because sometimes I talk too much.
All right. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
See you later. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. We had a fantastic time with Dr. Iyabo. Really good time. I'm sure you guys had some good fun, learning, and just gleaning from what she had to say. Need I add more? I'm exhausted myself, but I'm sure you enjoyed it. We'll be back again. I will bring her again to speak to us on a different subject. All right? Good night, everyone. Ciao.